And now, turning to our program, please welcome back Rotary Past President Jim Barry, President of the Barry Company, who will introduce today's speaker.
Thank you again, President Kent, double duty today. It is my pleasure and privilege to introduce our speaker today, Lafayette Crump, the Commissioner of City Development for the City of Milwaukee. Born and raised in Milwaukee, Commissioner Crump is a graduate of Duke University Law School, as well as the highly regarded Associates in Commercial Real Estate program here in Milwaukee. Prior to being named Commissioner, he practiced law in Milwaukee for several years, served as Chief Operating Officer of Prism Management and Marketing Services, LLC, and served as Deputy Chief of Staff and Chief Diversity, Vendor, and Engagement Officer for the Host Committee for the 2020 Democratic National Convention. As Commissioner, he leads a team dedicated to growing Milwaukee's population, bringing in and keeping jobs in the city, increasing density, facilitating the development of affordable and equitable housing options, and preparing Milwaukee and its residents for economic success in an increasingly technologically based economy. As someone who is in the commercial real estate industry, I can attest to the fact that Commissioner Crump has a very strong reputation for integrity and fairness, for his willingness to listen, and for his engagement and creativity in working with developers and other real estate professionals in the city. He is also devoted to promoting economic development throughout the city of Milwaukee, not just in certain areas, which is very important. He will share with us today his vision for economic development in the city of Milwaukee. One last note that I cannot resist. As we approach the semi-quincentennial of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, I would be remiss if I did not share some other famous words that were uttered on a July 4th. July 4th, 1917. On that day, during World War I, General George Pershing and the troops of the American Expeditionary Forces marched through Paris to the tomb of a famous French and American patriot. There, the most famous American words of World War I were spoken by Pershing's aide, Colonel Charles Stanton. He said simply, "Lafayette, we are here." And on behalf of the Rotary Club of Milwaukee, I say today, to Commissioner Crump, Lafayette, we are here.
Good afternoon, everyone. And Jim, thank you so much for those words. And thanks for the note of levity at the end, because I'm not kidding. I might be feeling a little emotional. I was traveling, but my eyes started to well up a little bit with those nice comments. We don't always get nice comments in this work, so I appreciate it, Jim. That was very, very kind. It's really great to be here. It's great to be back at Rotary. This is my second time during my tenure as DCD Commissioner that I've had the opportunity to address the Rotary Club. And it's great. It's a pleasure to be back. Last time I was here, people were kind of still feeling their way back to public spaces as the pandemic was winding down. So it's great to see so many people here today. I'll also note that the live stream is wonderful. Hello everyone watching at home or at work. My go-to karaoke is Bad Bunny, and so I kind of feel like Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl right now, being live streamed out to millions, surely, around the world. So I also want to take a note before I begin. I want to thank Rotary for your ongoing commitment to eradicating polio. My fiance's father had polio when he was young, and it's continued to impact him and his quality of life for some time. And the more that we can do as individuals and groups to connect for the common good for everyone and ensure that people don't have to suffer from avoidable ailments, the better. And I salute you for your efforts. I think a lot of what I'll be talking about today is not dissimilar. I was asked to talk about our vision, my vision for Milwaukee, and my vision, our vision at the Department of City Development, it is driven by Mayor Cavalier Johnson and his commitment to make our city one that helps all Milwaukeeans thrive and that beckons new residents, corporate citizens, and visitors. The mayor's commitment, it's supported by 5 policy pillars: fiscal responsibility, public safety, affordable and healthy neighborhoods, climate sustainability and resilience, and building and growing city-wide. Thank you, Jim, for your comments about how committed we are to doing this work across the city of Milwaukee. As Commissioner of the Department of City Development, I lead a team that has the honor and responsibility to engage in really thoughtful work that arguably addresses each and every one of those pillars that I mentioned, and we take that responsibility quite seriously. Our mission, through our work, I should say, to support the mayor's vision and pillars, our targeted mission at DCD is to improve the quality of life in our city by guiding and promoting development that creates jobs, builds wealth, and strengthens the urban environment while respecting equity, economy, and sustainability. This requires foundational planning work, collaboration with local and regional partners, and legitimate relationships with the corporate sector, community groups, and more, all with an end to stimulate and support investment, job creation, improved infrastructure, and housing growth. And, I could look around the room and see a number of partners that we work with. I do want to note, as I talk there about this foundational, important relationships, Matt, I'm thinking about, your background and what you've studied. And so urban planning, public administration, to have a partner, leading one of, to have someone leading one of our partner organizations with that background, it's so helpful to us. There are so many people operating in the space of what we do that have an understanding of what it takes. And Matt, you are high on that list, so thank you for your partnership. I do want to talk about a lot today. I'm going to talk about housing. Mayor Johnson declared 2026 the year of housing. This proclamation recognizes the foundational nature of housing. When you think about the hierarchy of physiological needs that allow people to reach their full potential and thereby contribute positively to our city and to the world, you understand immediately that everything begins at home. From shelter to safety to love and belonging to esteem to self-actualization, all of it begins right at home. And until all of our residents have access to stable and safe places to call home, we will still have work to do. And so I want to talk a little bit about our specific efforts at DCD with respect to that work. Our most effective tool is tax incremental financing, which we are deploying citywide in multiple neighborhoods to support affordable housing, workforce housing, and even market rate housing where necessary. Mayor Johnson understands, as do I, that more housing at every price point is generally good for residents across the economic spectrum. Housing exists on a continuum, and when there's a deficit in one area, it often puts strain on others, leading to a lack of affordability or a lack of housing that is attractive to new renters and new buyers. So the mayor pushed us to develop new tools to support new development, and we've delivered, including carefully designed home ownership districts and broad rental strategies. One recent marker of success is that Realtor.com noted that the delivery of new units in Milwaukee has helped to shift us to a renter-friendly market for the first time in some time. So while there's still a significant amount of work to do, we are proud of the new recent developments in Milwaukee, including 5 new affordable housing developments created with TIF during the past year. Some of those are represented here, some on future slides. The Martin Luther King Library Apartments, the Lamar Franklin Lofts, River West Workforce Housing and Food Accelerator, the Corliss in Bayview, as well as the Midtown Home Ownership Initiative. So you'll note that this includes rental and home ownership and in multiple neighborhoods across the city. These 5 developments alone will provide nearly 900 housing units, and they've leveraged nearly $300 million in private capital with the support of $14 million in TID investment. $300 million in the private sector, much of which is only possible because we were able to deploy $14 million in tax incremental financing. And that's, I think that's a ratio we're happy to have any time. In addition to the 5 developments I just spoke about, there are 6 additional new developments using tax incremental financing for affordable, workforce, and market rate housing through our newly designed program that will come online over the next year or 2. These new projects will yield 1,700 new additional units backed by $50 million in TID investment and close to $500 million in private investment. Among those projects are Cudahy Farms on the northwest side, with affordable and senior units, Northwoods Apartments, which updates a 1971 building to include new interiors, new building and safety systems, parking lots, and ground updates. It also includes the Harambe Home Ownership Initiative with 59 new affordable homes in the Harambe neighborhood via a partnership with Habitat for Humanity, historic Patterson Place, a renovation of a former MPS school into apartments, townhomes, and multi-purpose space, the Fieldhouse Flats in the Deer District, which is being developed into 269 new affordable units, 40,000 square feet of commercial space, and a student athletic facility and field house for MAT students. And finally, 100 East Wisconsin, which preserves an iconic Milwaukee landmark and converts it into nearly 400 rental units, many of those reserved for people making 80 to 100% of the area median income. In addition to using tax incremental financing to build and preserve housing, we're also amending existing TIF districts to support public infrastructure and public spaces throughout the city. We contributed over $50 million in public infrastructure support to address reckless driving, to construct protected bike lanes, to do high-impact paving, to construct a river walk, as well as other public spaces. This includes the construction of the Gary P. Grunow Memorial Plaza on Highland Avenue at Velar Phillips, improvements to the Erie Street Plaza and Catalano Square in the 3rd Ward, as well as the Beachy Brooks statue honoring the visionary Black developer who created the Black middle class enclave Halyard Park. We'll also soon celebrate the completion of construction on the Harbor District Riverwalk from Greenfield to KK, which is the longest section of Riverwalk ever built at one time in Milwaukee. This is a project that was shaped by the voices of the Harbor District residents and the broader Milwaukee community as they told us what mattered: access, safety, nature, and a sense of belonging. Collaborating with partners like Harbor District, Komatsu, Wienergy's, and the Smith Group, it's really going to be something special. And by bringing more people into our city and making Milwaukee more vibrant, we're boosting economic development, creating new gathering spaces and public spaces like the Velar Phillips Plaza, as well as water-centric places like our Riverwalk system, enhancing the quality of life for everyone. I mentioned I'm going to talk a lot about housing, so I'm going to circle right back to the year of housing. And I want to note the impact of our Milwaukee Home Down Payment Assistance Program, which has helped over 230 families to become homeowners just in 2025, and will support another 200 this year. Additionally, our Strong Homes loans, which help about 50 homeowners every single year to stay in their homes, addressing emergency and essential repairs. We're also continuing to get city-owned tax foreclosed properties into the hands of homeowners and responsible landlords. Last year, we sold close to 60 residential properties, nearly 90 vacant lots, and 16 commercial properties. As this work continues, we want to ensure that residents and families from all backgrounds have the opportunity to participate in our growth and in success of the city. That's why our Homes MKE program is so vital. More than 70 homes have been fully renovated. Most of those are either already sold to homeowners or in the process of being sold. At the moment, there are a dozen additional properties that are either in a rent-to-own program or available to purchase right now. We're strategically investing in neighborhoods with a high concentration of vacant homes and historical disinvestment. This not only renovates houses, but it also gives a renewed sense of neighborhood cohesion on many city city blocks. And we are, proud to work with a number of partners on this work, much of that through our investment and our collaboration with the Community Development Alliance and strong partners like Northwestern Mutual, who will also mention a little bit later. But through this work, we are able to empower buyers to build generational financial stability by partnering with providers of homeowner and credit counseling while linking the down payment assistance that we're able to provide, as well as other programs to help put home ownership in reach. This work, additionally, it allows emerging developers to combine private capital with city and federal subsidies to further extend the impact of previous investments, as well as add credibility and accountability to the portfolios of young developers who have the power to interact and impact, I should say, Milwaukee today and in the decades ahead. A number of them who have gone through the Associates in Commercial Real Estate program, which Jim mentioned, as well as others who, just by the virtue of their own scrappiness and intellect, have built really solid careers in this field. Additionally, the program follows superior rehabilitation standards with a rigorous system of inspection, which allows buyers to seek affordable price points of high-quality homes with all new mechanicals, modern interiors that help to maintain the value of the property long-term. Here you see a number of instances of us celebrating and working to get to the point of celebration for the housing element, which is the artist formerly known as Growing MKE. Making new housing available and possible, it's not just achieved through financing help, it also requires other policy impacts like the Housing Element Plan, which recommends zoning updates so that there are more housing choices in the city. More housing types means more affordable options for city residents. The housing element is an amendment to the city's comprehensive plan, which encourages housing choice and growth and advances the citywide goals for housing affordability, as well as those pillars that I mentioned earlier, including fiscal sustainability, economic development, connectivity, health, and climate resilience, all through updates to the zoning code and complementary policies. Since the adoption of the housing element in July, following a lengthy and challenging process to gain council and community support, our planning staff is now working to advance the recommendations from the housing element to make updates to the zoning code that increase housing choice, increase the number of housing styles that are available, and increase affordability across all city neighborhoods, while also supporting citywide transit-oriented development and increasing the number of walkable neighborhoods that exist in our city. This being the year of housing, obviously I've talked a lot about our work in that respect, but we're not slowing down on the commercial development front either. There was a recent report from the Wisconsin Policy Forum, thank you Elizabeth, that found the city of Milwaukee leads the region with the fastest review time for major development projects, noting that Milwaukee's progressive zoning framework contributes to a shorter median review time than our peer communities. And it identified Milwaukee as having the most streamlined model of the cities that were reviewed. And we're using that not just to pat ourselves on the back, but it is nice, as I noted, it's good to hear some good words from time to time, but we're using this as continued motivation to figure out how we can streamline things even more, how we can make things more available to get done faster, and how do we use that as continued motivation as we look at new opportunities like Granville Station, as you'll see on the screen here, the old Northridge Mall site. So after decades of lawsuit, neglect, life-threatening danger at that site, it's now the largest contiguous development site in the city. This past year, DCD led efforts to complete demolition of the old mall. We did that on time, we did that on budget, and we did it with dozens of companies, the majority of them Milwaukee-based. Those that weren't from Milwaukee were all in southeastern Wisconsin, many of them owned by women and people of color. $12 million worth of demolition costs funded by our partners at the state, and it's allowed us to move forward with planning the redevelopment of this 58-acre site and the surrounding area. Our planners worked with stakeholders as well on a vision report, which was released in December of 2025. So while we were demolishing the site, we were also planning for the site. It outlines the public perception, market opinions, and the economic potential of various land use and development scenarios at the site. So the site's going to be listed for sale later this year, and we're looking for a catalytic anchor that not only impacts that site, but the surrounding area as well. And catalyzation like that does not just happen with big sites. It happens with small commercial developments as well. We've found that when the city supports small businesses with commercial revitalization grants, it provides an economic boost as well as an incentive to invest among the surrounding businesses as well. So over the past 15 months, more than $1 million in city grants have leveraged $10 million in project investments, supporting improvements at over 120 businesses across the city. You can see some of those projects up here, including retail investment fund grant, which was approved to assist in the conversion of a former Walmart into the third Monterey Market grocery store in the area. And I think we all know that when we do work to support grocery stores, we're doing a lot more than just supporting that store. We're supporting the surrounding community as well. Reactivation of a site on 109th and Good Hope into IVR Bar, which is a new independently owned restaurant, signage, facade, and storefront activation grants to help enable the conversion of a former city-owned library building on North 76th Street. That's now Racine Liquidators, which is a retail appliance store, as well as a grant to support construction of accessibility improvements at Bayview's legendary Cactus Club. Our commercial corridor team has also collaborated with the East North Avenue bid 20, to facilitate an expansion of the bid's boundaries to provide greater financial stability to that bid. And in partnership with the Riverworks Development Corp., we also facilitated the disbursement of a Vibrant Spaces grant to assist with the build-out at the Beerline Plaza, which you can see on the screen upper left, on Townsend Street. These sites all across the city, I could, probably don't have room for all 120 plus, but they've had a big impact on local quality of life and the potential to support entrepreneurial dreams and growth. They matter, as do the big developments in the heart of our downtown. Projects like Milwaukee Tool, Fiserv, Kohl's, all of the incredible activity in West Town, be it in the Deer District, 3rd Street Market Hall, or the Symphony, as well as the continued consolidation of Northwestern Mutual's presence in the city of Milwaukee. The $500 million renovation of their North Tower means the company has invested over $1 billion in downtown Milwaukee over the last several years. Northwestern Mutual currently has over 4,600 employees in downtown Milwaukee, and once the North Tower is fully opened, they eventually expect to have close to 6,000 downtown. It's a hell of an investment, and it also represents a hell of a lot of belief in what we're doing to build this city. And looking around this room, I see a lot of people who have that same belief and who have done a lot of work to help build the fabric and the economic growth of Milwaukee, as well as many partners whom I hope to work with. I'll walk with you too. Me and Jeff will walk all over this city with you. Your perspectives, your experiences, they matter deeply as we think about the future of Milwaukee. If you'd like to learn more about our work, not just in the questions ahead, but in the future, to share your ideas or to connect with our team, we absolutely welcome those conversations. I'm glad that we are developing a reputation for being open to listening and figuring out where we can make some changes and where we can innovate, because it is crucial to us that we don't just keep doing what we've always done, because we want greater results than we've had in the past. Milwaukee moves forward when generations of people, look around this room, look at the generations represented, when generations of people stay connected and engaged. You're doing that work at Rotary, and we invite you to do that work with us as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for speaking today. I really appreciate it. I'm Carol. I'm the moderator.
Hi, Carol.
So let's keep it appropriate. Let's keep the questions 30 seconds. I will be setting my timer. And Chris, would you like to go first?
I would.
Okay.
Thank you. I wasn't probably the only person disappointed to learn that the Riverwalk on the new Harbor District project is not going to be open to the public, at least initially. Now that I see other developments proposed in that same area, will that likely change the status of that particular section of the Riverwalk?
Yeah, excuse me. Thank you for that question. I think we share your disappointment that that places that we expect to be fully open to the public, that sometimes there are challenges to make that possible. I think as you can understand, there are trade-offs in this work, and we never want the perfect to be the enemy of the good, and so a temporary lack of access was something that we felt we could support in order to move things forward in the way that we'd like. To answer the second part of your question, yes, we anticipate that as there is additional development, we will be able to have full public access.
Thank you for being here today. The economist for the Wisconsin Department of Revenue has commented on the fact that Wisconsin has had net growth in population. And our mayor has even said that he'd love to see Milwaukee grow to 1 million, which is a huge jump, right? And with population trends, that means we got to get people to move to Milwaukee. But first, could you comment a little bit on, what are the likelihoods of Milwaukee being able to achieve that really big goal? And then secondly, what do you need to do if he's successful?
Yeah, thank you for that question. The short answer is that it's absolutely an achievable goal. I think the question is, how long does it take us to get there? I think we recognize that you have to look at this in incremental steps, and you have to build the foundation. I talked a little bit about the work we're doing to build public infrastructure. We have to create the infrastructure that not only attracts people to the city of Milwaukee, but it also ensures that people feel that it's valuable to them for them to stay here. Our sort of static population over a number of years is in part because there's some people who are leaving and not coming back. People leave for school all the time. I left for school. I wanted to come back here and be a part of this community. There's some people who decide that, my opportunity is better elsewhere. We have to ensure that young people, that people of color, that people from challenging backgrounds, that people who have amazing ideas, entrepreneurial ideas, that they think Milwaukee is a place that can support them and help them achieve their dreams. And so we're working hard to do that work. And as I mentioned, partnership is a key part of that, and being in rooms like this, talking to our academic partners, talking to the startup community, talking to community groups about where do you see the challenges, what can we do to help make Milwaukee a palatable place for you to build the future.
Hello, Commissioner.
Hello, sir.
My name is Antoine Carter. You did very well. Thank you for coming.
I got the Antoine stamp of approval. I'm good now.
You always do, my friend. You always do. So you may have just answered my question, but I'm here already. As the city works to increase housing opportunities, where do you see the greatest need for additional partners and investment over the next few years? And what do you see community-based developers and partners playing in that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mentioned our work with the Community Development Alliance that we're doing in the housing space. I could rattle off a number of partners. Obviously, I mentioned Northwestern Mutual, there's Zilber, there's Bader, there's Kohl's, or I should say the Kohl Foundation. There are so many different entities that we're working with in that respect. And what we've learned, or sort of relearned, is the value of collective work. And I know that there are people, entities doing this work in other spaces. All of the universities are working collectively together. There are business groups, you've got the GMC, you've got a number of places where people are looking to work collectively. But I think we need some moonshot goals where people are saying, these are the 2 to 4 things that we are hoping to achieve over the next 10 years, whether that be with respect to education, whether that be with respect to job growth, These are things that I think the city would be happy to be a part of. We certainly have limited resources, and we don't want to, overburden the population from a taxing standpoint. But we found that if we're able to work collectively, there's a lot that we can achieve. That doesn't mean we need to somehow double the city budget in various respects.
Hi, Laura Bray, former DCD employee.
Hey.
A couple of decades ago now. I can't believe I'm saying that. I'm curious on what you did to get the permitting process to a place where it is today, because I know that always was important, and there's a lot of trade-offs that happen there. So what did you do to get there? And then how do you balance the trade-offs between ensuring design excellence and environmental sustainability oversight with still wanting to be rapid in your approval process?
Yeah, that is a great question. I mean, there are a few parts to that question, and you talked a little bit about the balance, and I'll just note, I think everyone in here knows the balance of the different trade-offs that you have when you're trying to do something new. We have conversations, for example, about requiring partners or entities that receive tax incremental financing to do more on the climate front, right? But that also bumps up against the ideas, whether you love everything in the book Abundance or not, bumps up against the idea of cutting some of those regulations. And what's our ultimate goal? We want more housing, we want more projects done. We also care about sustainability, but how far do we push people on that front and then potentially lose the new construction? On the side of how we did it, I think it's two things that I have very little to do with. They are the mayor being very clear about his expectations, and it is us having a rock star of a Department of Neighborhood Services Commissioner, Jezamil Arroyo Vega, who has done really incredible work in that department to streamline things, to increase communication within the department, to increase the speed with which people are told, you're missing this document. You're missing, a certain, you haven't satisfied what we need to even fully start looking. One of the things, I hear from developers, contractors regularly about a challenge they're having to get something done, to get progress. We haven't heard back yet. We submitted this application. A few years ago, when I'd hear that, I'd often reach out and it would turn out that they hadn't actually submitted everything. And that might mean that their ask just kind of sat, and the inspector just looked at the file and said, well, things are missing here, I'll wait till they get it in, instead of notifying someone, hey, you submitted this, but we need more if you want us to move forward. So communication is better, and it's communication both with the partners who are trying to work with us. It's also, it's communication across the board. It's our communication, our commitment to communication with the council about getting them prepared for what's coming down the pike so that their questions are answered early. So a lot of it's communication, but in terms of the permitting, that's Jezamil, and she's fantastic. Don't hire her away from the city, though, all you leaders.
Good afternoon. My name's John Franke. Thank you for being here. I was reading in the Milwaukee Sentinel this morning about a large apartment project that's been approved for, it'd be the southwest side of Milwaukee River. I think it's the Harbor View neighborhood, if it has a name. And as long as I can remember, that's always been kind of a scruffy, undeveloped area, but it's a very large area. There's some pioneers down there like Next Act Theater and some other pioneers, but I have two related questions about that area. Is there a long-term plan for that area? And to the extent that it involves residential development, are we going to have a problem with communication and transportation between that area and the 3rd Ward? Because all you've really got is Pittsburgh and then the Water Street Bridge. And will there be a solution to what might be traffic problems in that area?
Yeah, thank you. The short answer to that is there absolutely is a plan. There are area plans for all. We break up the city into 14 different areas, and then there are even smaller components of each of those plans. But there's a plan in general for what we see as appropriate for certain areas of the city, and what would likely be supported. But then we recognize that sometimes ideas and projects are going to come forward that are going to require, some sort of zoning change or going to require community input. As it relates to traffic, congestion, that sort of thing, I will tell you, I'm always amazed at how much, when our Department of Public Works, which is wonderful, very learned group of folks about this sort of thing, when they analyze the traffic and maybe areas where either we or the council may be more concerned about what's going to happen there, they're able to demonstrate why, either through the existing pattern or what they will do with traffic signals and other work that's happening in the area, why developments are not going to be the problem that at first glance they might see. But every time there is a new proposal, particularly in an area where it is maybe a little bit different from what we initially pitched for that area of the city, there is a detailed analysis to ensure that it's not essentially going to ruin everyone's life in the surrounding area.
Hello, Commissioner.
Hello.
Elizabeth Szynski with the Wisconsin Policy Forum. Thank you for your shout out on our report, which was funded in part by CARW, so thank you, Tracy, as well. Anyway, you touched on it a little bit in your presentation and your answer to Jody's question, but what do you see as the greatest opportunities to support our small business community in the city, attracting startups and helping them scale up?
Thank you. One thing I think about with supporting small businesses is shopping at them. It seems trite and perhaps obvious, but I think, for example, of National Avenue right now, there's a road reconstruction work happening there, and it's a real challenge for businesses when people's normal manner of accessing those businesses, or even driving through that area, period, where they might see a business and think, oh, let me try that. People may be avoiding the area. So if there's a business that you like, or that you've been meaning to try out, whether it's in an area affected by traffic or not, I'd say make sure you go support those businesses. That's what certainly individuals and companies can do. I think it's also important as the kind of the shifting nature of how we talk about diversity and inclusion in our country, and what maybe individual companies are doing, even as what they write about how they do things may need to change, or how they speak about these things. The general commitment, the spirit of ensuring that there's an equitable opportunity, and that we're looking out for businesses, neighborhoods, people who have been historically disenfranchised, or lost opportunities, or never had access to certain opportunities, supporting those folks, giving them a shot. I think that's important. But then as it relates on the entrepreneurial front, it's taking a flyer on that new business or that individual who has an idea, helping give them some seed money if you can, mentor someone, help someone make their idea into fruition. Thank you.
Hey, Commissioner, great to see you.
Hey, Chris.
And thanks for your service and work. Chris Mabry-Rosh from Building Advantage. You brought up TIFs a couple times, but there's a lot of misunderstanding about a TIF, and we're seeing that play out in some municipalities around the area. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about, if not but for a TIF, some of these projects, and about the importance of TIF financing, as well as maybe just walk through, and I know every TIF is different, but kind of how they're constructed just from an educational standpoint?
Sure. My answer is limited to 30 seconds as well. I don't think I've been doing that.
You're good.
But, well, no, thank you for that question. It's an important question, and it does come up, I think, often, even as it's very easy for us within city government to think, oh, we've talked about TIF, we don't have to go through it every single time there's a new project that's on the horizon, but obviously folks are oftentimes paying attention to what happens in their backyard. And so if there's a project that's happened elsewhere, they may not be thinking about it, and sometimes folks think, a TIF is going to raise my taxes, or a TIF is going to take my taxes to pay for this new development. You talked about the but-for test, I think, pretty fundamental to new projects, that we need to satisfy the test of, if we don't TIF this, will the project get done? So that's pretty straightforward. In terms of how the TIF itself operates, we look at the value of land, the value of a property before a TIF is considered. And we look at how much tax revenue is that project generating at the current moment. So if a project is generating $100,000 in taxes a year right now, but if the new development gets constructed, it'll suddenly be generating $200,000 in taxes per year, means an additional $100,000 in taxes. If we just take that over 10 years, that's $1 million in new tax revenue that would be generated because this project exists. Theoretically, if the pro forma demonstrates it, that there is a gap, that there is a need, we can leverage that additional $100,000 in taxes, that additional $1 million over the course of 10 years, and use that to fill some holes in the pro forma for the project. And that's essentially how it works. They can go up to, I believe the number is 26 years. That's why we have technicians on the team. But it can go up to 26 years. We try not to go all the way to 26 years on any project, in part because we want to be conservative in our estimate. We also want to allow the ability to amend the TID at some point, maybe to add some of that infrastructure down the road, to leverage a TIF to do more than just satisfy the needs of that specific project. What's also great is that at the end of the TIF, we have the ability to extend it additional year. It will be 2 years now because of new legislation that we've been fighting for some time. I don't think Jordan Primikow is here from our intergovernmental relations team, but he's been a huge part of making that happen. And we use that additional TIF revenue to help support our affordable housing efforts. But the bottom line is that no one's current taxes go to pay for a new project. It doesn't raise taxes for the surrounding area. I will note that sometimes people ask us, can you guarantee me that if you TIF this project, my taxes won't go up? Obviously, we cannot do that, and there's the double-edged sword of new development in an area likely means the area is going to get maybe a little bit more attractive, and that could mean the value of the properties in that area matter, but that's, raise and then more tax revenue potentially. But that's part of the reason why we're trying to ensure that we're doing this across the city of Milwaukee, so that when, everybody's, the value of commercial and residential projects across the city are increasing, that doesn't necessarily mean anyone's taxes are going to go up. And the final piece I would note there is that while we are doing development across the city, it is sometimes the downtown projects that get the most attention, and the numbers are certainly much higher. Our downtown TIF districts have been an absolute boon to development across the city of Milwaukee because as those TIFs are often much more successful than we conservatively estimate, that additional revenue can be poured into helping other districts across the city that even though they passed the but-for test, they have not been quite as successful. Maybe some of them are underwater, and that downtown development helps developments across the city of Milwaukee as well.
Hi, Commissioner. I'm Alex Chu.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you what steps the department is taking to address the food desert in the north side and northwest side, and can you define a few concrete objectives related to that?
Sure. Thank you for that question. A few things. One early step was the mayor convened a meeting of grocery operators, particularly a number of the local independent operators, to talk about what kinds of challenges they're experiencing. And we're having regular conversations, not just with grocery providers, but also pharmacy, which is also a challenge, in parts of the city, and looking to see how we can be of use. Part of what's grown out of that process is a new fund that just passed council, that the mayor signed and pushed for us to move forward. It's our department working closely with the health department to make funds available to help, it's additional commercial funds available to help shore up existing operators, but also if there are new operators that want to come into spaces, we're able to help support them financially. We're also looking, talking quite a bit with folks who are proposing new developments around the city. So it's the northwest side, south side, but we want to keep an eye on this across the city, that commercial space that's often available in new developments, that folks consider hard, having grocery in those spaces as well. I think that's the start of the work. I think you'll continue to see it be an important part of what we do for neighborhood stability, over the next several years.
Thank you, Commissioner, for being here. My name is Jalili Kohler, and I am more than excited about all the housing that you have done and working on. And I'm talking specifically not only about the rental, but about the housing. I was the board chair for many years for a place called the Nia Amani family. And we took in young women between 18 and 25 who were homeless and pregnant. And they did not know how to live in a house, in a home, very much. Okay, and what I'm wondering, with all your new housing and people coming into it, do you have any support services for people who've never owned a home before? Because that is hard work.
Yeah, thank you for that question. It is, and it's a great one. The folks who have an opportunity to buy, whether it is, properties through our Homes MKE program, properties, folks who receive down payment assistance, or folks who are buying some of the other properties that are supported through tax incremental financing, I think nearly all of them also have a counseling component to them as well. And so buyers are learning about, what are those challenges that come with home ownership? What kinds of things should they be thinking about? Because folks often hear, if you're paying X amount in rent, you can afford a mortgage. I think we all know that home ownership is not just that monthly cost of the mortgage plus taxes and likely plus private mortgage insurance as well. It is, having funds available, should something go wrong. There are the other, costs that can come from being homeowners. So I think the short answer at the end of all of that is that there's counseling available, and it's the fact that all of our work in the housing space is done with partners who are having multiple conversations and multiple touch points with future homeowners, ensuring that they really understand. Axe Housing is another entity I could throw out there that we work closely with that does great work in this area as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Crump, for being here today. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.